Hello and welcome back to the next lecture. We're gonna see WebSockets. Yes, it's now time to move from something, let's say, not so static, okay? The endpoints are kind of static, to something more dynamic, to something more real-time. So WebSockets and the sockets as well, TCP, UDP, are type of connection which will hold over the time. And with WebSockets, you can send some information back and forth to the client, and client can reply to you as well if you need something. The best usage you can see is, for example, Twitter, right? Twitter will give you like real-time tweets if you want to. Maybe I don't know, maybe Facebook as well, this will work, right? You have a feed where you update something. More interesting example of WebSockets is chat, and where one user can send message to other, and let's build one, right? Let's make something similar to the chat, right? So I have a command which I'll give you in the description of this lesson. You can look and see it. So what we're making here, we are actually making we use a Quarkus Maven plugin as always. So the group ID will be tagged now as always, and the project artifact ID will be WebSockets, and one extension that we are adding this time is Undertow WebSockets, right? That's okay. So let's create our project. Okay, I opened it in IntelliJ IDEA. Let's see what we have. And we actually have nothing here. We have a Docker, resources as well. Java is empty in this case because we haven't specified any class that will be created for us. And I don't think the test is empty as well, but we don't need it today. So let's look at the POM XML, and you can see that we have pretty much everything that we had previously. The rest easy. JUnit 5, rest assured. And one thing that actually added the single one in this case is the Quarkus Undertow WebSockets. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with it already, but for Quarkus, there is you have a libraries for any project, right? For example, Jackson, or I don't know, maybe GGVT for the JSON web tokens. And you also have a frameworks which you can import into the dependencies. So Quarkus, if you see something like this, Quarkus, and then blah, 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 it's actually an extension which not only do the libraries, it has a lot of libraries inside. For example, Quarkus JUnit 5 will have JUnit 5 inside, and Hamcrest as well. So it has a few different libraries inside, but it also have a setup for Quarkus. So Quarkus knows how to set up the thing that you need. So in this case, Undertow WebSockets has everything that it needed to create a WebSocket. So you can start creating WebSockets from the start, So while we're doing the chat socket, right? Let's create a chat. So let's create a new class called chat socket, right? Actually, tech. Now. Chat socket, I don't know, chat socket, right? Oops, chat socket, it's not this thing, chat socket, right? So we have a chat socket, and we now need to have a few annotations there, right? So we need to have a server endpoint, and inside we need to specify value, and the value will be, let's say, chat. That's basically an endpoint where the socket will be located, right? Chat, and then let's create a username as well, like this. So you can put the path variables inside if you need to. We also need to have application scope, so it will be inside our scope of the whole app, right? And so that's basically it. Now you need to specify, let's name it them endpoints, right? So WebSocket by its default have few methods. Let's say it's like actions or no. So the first one is on open when you connect to something, when you connect to a socket. The second one is on close. Then you have on message, when, let's say, message is arriving, so the user sends a message or you're broadcasting something back to the user. And you also have on error, let's say, when error occurs in something, right? Let's start with the on open, right? So the on open will work, let's say, when the user connects, right? On open. And we'll have here, we can put here a session from the JavaX WebSocket. And we also have, because we have a path variable, right? We can put a path variable, actually path param, but this time you can see that there is two of them, right? We have a JavaX web services, and then from the web services, and then we have a path param from a WebSocket. We're interested in the first one in this case, right? So let's put it in username like this, string username, right? Like this. So what we want to do when we open a socket, the only thing that we're interested actually in this case is hold the connection somewhere. So because it's application scoped, it's basically a single. So let's create concurrent map of, let's say, username, a map of username to session, right? So let's create new concurrent hash map, and it will be what it should be, string to session, right? Like this. And we can put it as a field, and final, yeah, that's like this. And we can remove like this. Let's rename it as well. Let's name a session map like this. Now we can store our session by username. So let's call a session map, put username and then session. So that's there, right? What is missing? We also want to notify all the users that were already in our chat that somebody logs in, right? So let's create a method. Let's name it send message, right? Send message, string message, so we need to get all the values from the session map. And for each, let's name it. So for each, we'll get an async remote and send an object. Let's say it's we'll get it in our message, and then we have a new send handler, which can be simplified to a send result. So if send result get exception not equals to now, then everything is okay. Actually, no, actually the other way. So if there is an exception, then we have a problem, right? So let's solve the problem. Send result get exception. Actually, we can do just a send result get exception print struct trace. That will be enough. We can also remove one of the lambdas to make it more let's scoped, right? And now we can say we want to send message, and then string format user string log it in username, right? Like this. So we have now one method. Let's create another on message. On message. Now we can put here message, the message as well itself, and then the path param, again the username, and string username. The username will be in all the cases in our case. And so let's just send the message. Actually, let's create string format as well, and let's name it like this, and then put their string, and then another message. So in our case, first will be username and then message. So that will be a message of the user, right? When user sends a message. So let's create one more endpoint called onClose. When user will log out, public void onClose session, and then let's copy it over in this case, in this time. Okay, in this case, we want to remove, so the session object will be the same, so we can just session map remove and then put a session here, so we'll remove it, right? Actually, we need to put username, sorry, right? Yeah, so in this case like this. And last thing, on error, this will throw an exception in our case, the void on error. Session, and then again we have a path param, and last thing that we'll have is a throwable. In this case, we can just put a throwable print struct trace just in case, and then send message. Let's say string format, user and s log it out because of an error, like this. And we also need to put a broadcast, actually, yeah, username here. Let's send the message on close as well. I forgot to put it, so let's create string format, user and s log it out, just logged out, yeah, and then we have username. We also forgot to remove our session as well, so let's get a session map, remove, and then username. So our socket API is ready, and we're gonna use one of the Quarkus open source files. So I'll put a link in the description for it as well from the original source. I'll just copy it over. And so what it basically do is that it has an UI which will connect to a socket via different methods. So we have a connect via the WebSocket protocol, the location host, and then chat. We can also send a message, and there should be when we just disconnect, this will disconnect as well. So with this in mind, let's call Quarkus, actually Maven mini Quarkus dev, and we are ready to use our API. Okay, so you can see that adding annotated server endpoint, tag the now socket chat socket for path/chat, and then username. This means that we have everything working. So I opened the API, our endpoint basically is the static one, and we have here a new UI, the Quarkus chat. Let's create Dmytro, and let's connect. So you can see that we user Dmytro logged in. That's exactly what we broadcasted to us, user and s logged in. And let's use the same endpoint here, and let's say Quarkus, I don't know, whatever it is, connect. So now in this view, you can see that we have user Quarkus logged in, and here you can see that we also have a user Quarkus logged in. Everything is fine, everything is super. So let's send a message, hello, and you can see that we have a / right, Dmytro, and then hello. So in our case, we have a username which we used for where is it actually on message, right? So we have a message which is hello, and then a string username, and that's exactly what we sent. Yeah, so you can see that it's on both fields at the same time, so it's basically updating real time. So we can send something like this, and you can see that we automatically actually I somehow can edit it, but whatever, it's working, it's fine. So you can send everything that you want. In this case, I think I broke it because of the yeah, so I need to restart it. But yeah, so now if I'll close this window, the first one, we will see in the second one that the user Dmytro logged out. You can also I think you can also somehow simulate the error. I've never done it, but basically if there will be some error, maybe with the connection or something like this, In this case, that will also show you the user logged out because of an error. So yeah, now there is one more thing that you might be interested in, is that what if you put a path param from the web services, right? And you actually in IntelliJ IDEA you'll already see that it can resolve single username because it's basically different API. But if you restart it, you'll get an exception. So you can see in this case that we have method public blah 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 has invalid parameters at location 1. It looks like you might accidentally used JavaX Web Services path param instead of the required one from the WebSockets. So that's one thing. And a second thing is that you can accidentally open the index.html, like not from the 8080, right? Not from this part where you can put a test and connect, right? But you accidentally, let's say that you open it from the, I don't know, from the browser, right? The index.html itself. Then if you want to connect, you'll see that it's not working. And it's because of this such thing as course origin request sharing. And basically it's made for security. When you, for example, if you open, let's say you have a website, right? And in this website, in a JavaScript, you actually use some of the endpoints from Facebook, for example, right? Usually you can just, take some profile picture or data, right? And then take it back to your website and I don't know, maybe use it, store it on your space. So course prevents that. So basically you can't use any of the Facebook private endpoints or any other website if it's not configured, if the website haven't said that, hey, you can use it, or like, hey, this domain, like, I don't know, the now tech, you can use it but others can't. So that's one. You can also open it with in IntelliJ IDEA. You can have like the Chrome, like this few windows. If you open it as well, it won't work because the local host is wrong one, so it's not the same. So yeah, we covered pretty much a lot of stuff with the sockets. Now you can use them. It's not a good idea to use such endpoints for something high load, for example, connection with so many, for example, I don't know, devices, like to use it like in some real-time super high loaded. So now you know how to use WebSockets, how to connect the users, send the message. If you need to send specific message, for example, you can always do it with a, like maybe a session map, get some user, right? User 1, get it from the body or from wherever you take. And then same thing, basically get async remotes and object, and it's ready for like the other user. So in our case, we created broadcast service, right, where all read everything, but it's not mean that you need to follow this pattern. So that will be great homework. You can create like private chats, right? Maybe some API where you can send a message to specific user. If you can do it, you can do pretty much a lot of stuff with the WebSockets. So WebSockets is a great tool, but it's not like like a Swiss knife for all the possible requirements. So it may be a good idea to use a TCP sockets because it's more cost efficient, and it's possible to do with, for example, protobuf. You can use protobuf to build your protocol, and it will be possibly 10 times faster than maybe even more than using WebSockets. But WebSockets can be pretty much good thing because it's dynamic. You don't need to care about how you'll send the data, and if you need to change it a bit, you can always change it, so it's not a problem at all. With sockets there is more responsibilities and like things to do when you change something. So we may look at them as well in the future for TCP or UDP WebSockets. Yeah, but now you know a really nice tool. I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next